Today we're going to cover a superset style that I really like to implement a lot. It's not the typical one that you see because most every superset is just two totally different exercises. What makes this one a little bit different is that it's more of an overreaching technique. You're going to be able to go past failure, and it's only one exercise. It's one basic movement pattern, but we're going to overload one portion of it, say the lengthened first, and once we hit failure, we're going to switch the emphasis and overload the shortened range. So again, we're really going to squeeze everything we can out of that muscle group. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So the first exercise we're going to cover is just a cable chest fly. So if we're trying to overload the lengthened range on a cable for our pecs, we want the arms pretty far apart and we want to be pretty close into it so we have a lot of tension in that beginning range. When we get to the end, it's not as heavy. So the resistance curve is heaviest right here. So we would go hit your 12 to 15 reps to failure, and then we're going to superset this with a shortened range emphasis. So if you wanted to stay on the cable, you could. You would just bring these in a little tighter. And then you would walk out a little further so that there's not a lot of stretch tension and it's much heavier at the end range. But what I actually like to do a lot more is I superset the stretch cable chest fly, and then I actually like free weight. So when we do a chest fly with dumbbells, it's way heavier at the bottom, much lighter at the top. So that's actually my preferred way. So let me show you guys that. So pec fly is always gonna be heavier at the bottom. What I like to do on this is actually, I'll give it a little pause. 1, 2, push up together. Don't bring them all the way. There's no resistance curve there. So heavier at the bottom. I'm gonna hold that lengthen. 1, 2, drive up. So the next exercise we're going to cover is a lat pullover. It doesn't really matter too much if you start with a shortened range or the lengthened range. There may be some benefits if you're like super tight in your lats, like a lot of people are, to start with the lengthened range first and get it a little looser before you hit the shortened range, but it shouldn't make too big of a difference. So I actually really like to use a dumbbell on this because, again, naturally with the dumbbell, that lengthened range is where most of that tension is going to be, and I really like to just give that like a 2-second pause. Drive up, I lose tension as I'm coming up to perpendicular to the ground and ceiling. So this is like a really good overload on that lengthened range. And again, that's where a lot of the growth happens, is in that stretched loaded position. Now you can do this move with just a cable if you don't have a bench right next to you or you don't want to set all that up. What you would do on that is just lean all the way over, and that's going to really focus on that lengthened range. That's where all the tension is going to be. And when you get to failure, just stand tall, and that's going to shift the emphasis to that shortened range where it's really a lot tougher and fully contracted. So this is actually probably my favorite muscle group to do this style of superset on, is delts. So I'm going to show you a couple ways to do this. I have the cable set up so that this will be really lengthened tension. It's going to be light as I get to the top, real heavy in that first 2/3. So I'm just going to cross these and just really focus on not letting those ribs flare, keeping a very slight bend to your elbows. There's no point to really go high. You lose total tension there, so you don't have to go to parallel. So once we're getting right at failure, I'm going to switch to free weight, because free weight dumbbell flies obviously heaviest at the top, not a lot at the bottom. And with these, I might spend a little extra time in that top range, doing like a 1 1/4 style. And again, once you get to close to failure, you could even just take that away. Nice. Now you do have the option to just use the cables. If you wanted to stay bilateral and you did that first setup, what I do is just bring this in. Don't cross them, just stand in the middle, and now we're loaded at that end range tension. It's also it's really easy, and you can get a little different angles and stuff if you just do one arm on shoulders. You can hit that lengthen, stretch range, one arm, and you can just lower it. Let's get right next to it, just hit that shortened range. A lot of options. So those are some of my favorite ways to implement this style of superset. Give it a shot, let me know what you think. I appreciate all you guys watching me over the years. I'm really making a conscious effort now to get a little better production value and be a little more consistent with this. So if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks.